and I made him watch.
Hello and welcome back to And I Made Him Watch, the podcast where I make my husband watch weird movies of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Danny Page, and here with me forever and always, one of the coolest guys I know, my co-host, husband, and filmmaker, Troy Allen. You're so cool, Allen. Do you like that?
Oh, you're so cool, Paige.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, I can do it too, see? Yeah. Honestly, though, when I first read this, read your script or whatever, I didn't quite understand what you were doing here.
Yeah, no.
But now that I've seen the movie, of course I know.
Yeah, of course. It's you understand.
The cringe.
You understand. It's not cringy at all. I didn't get cringe at all at saying that. I thought it was kind of cute and cool and quirky.
I mean, even the actor that plays Evil Ed finds it cringy.
Yeah, but that's because it's him.
True.
You're allowed to be cringed at yourself, sometimes.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you should always support yourself, though, too.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
But yeah, we watched one of my favorite movies of all time, Fright Night from 1985. There is nothing I dislike about this movie. The story is good, the acting is good, the casting is perfect. But the practical effects and special effects makeup done by Richard Edlund and Steve Johnson are some of the best you will ever see, and they are some of my favorite ever. This is, to be fair, a 9.5 out of 10 for me. Like, this movie is almost perfect. And if I could, I would give it a 10. Something keeps me from giving it a perfect 10 because I don't think there is such thing as a perfect movie.
Right.
So I have to be fair for the whole universe of film and cinema to give it a 9.5.
Yeah. And I will say that out of all the movies we've seen, and we've seen a fuck ton of movies, the special effects of this movie really give me...
It's captivating, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's like it gives me courage to keep trying to make movies and stuff, because even after watching the documentary and stuff, it goes to show that like the people that were making this movie, they didn't really know what they were doing in a sense.
They were all very new to the movie making scene. Yeah. Very nuanced.
And there were a few that had done major motion pictures prior to this. I think Brad Fiedler had done the score for Terminator prior to this. A couple others had worked on some other movies. But for the most part, they were going into this with open minds. So that just goes to show, like, you can go into something not knowing or having a clue about what you're doing and still make a really, really good product.
Well, I wouldn't say they didn't have a clue of what they were doing. They had very little experience.
Yes.
But it was also, it's very poetic in a way because, at this point, a lot of the vampire films were kind of cheesy and quirky and kind of just humorous. Yeah. And they did make this a humorous and comedy, but they did it in a different way. They still took the vampire element and made it very real.
Right.
And I think that's kind of cool for them to be bringing back that type of vampire movie with such a new set of eyes and set of hands.
Yeah.
And I think that's what... Sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, Chris Sarandon, who plays Jerry, he even said himself that the vampire genre had been so overdone that at that point, all you were seeing were satirical vampire films, So, I mean, what Tom Holland did with this movie is exactly what the vampire genre needed.
Especially because this was Holland's directorial debut.
Yes. He
had previously been known for just writing screenplays, and he did the screenplay for Psycho 2 in 1983. And while he was doing that and writing that, he came up with the idea for Fright Night because he was inspired by another Hitchcock movie, Rear Window, and then also Dracula. and blending the voyeuristic like thriller vibes with a vampire mythology. And he had so much passion for it. He did such a wonderful job. I don't think anyone, and he knew that, and that's why he did not want anyone else to direct this. So he wrote it and he directed it, and no one would have done this like he did it. He did it wonderfully. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, he even said that he wanted to bring back the famous monsters that he grew up with, so. Yeah,
it was his love letter to those classic horror and old school vampire movies and monster movies that he loved and he grew up with.
Yeah. So that gets us to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're greeted by these opening shots of who we later learned to be Peter Vincent, the vampire killer.
Yeah.
And he's starring in this old school, Dracula type movie, which is kind of like I don't know, it reminds me of like Once Bitten.
Yeah.
But he's a vampire killer in this, and he goes to like stake this vampire, but he has the stake turned the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, before we actually like see him, we hear everything that's going on.
Yes.
And we get the shot of Charlie's room, which is filled with this horror themed just posters and games and like toys and stuff of this, teenage boy who's obsessed with horror. So we already know automatically what type of person Charlie is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hearing the movie that he's watching, the Peter Vincent movie that he's watching first, which kind of leads us to believe that, this is where the movie starts, but really we're just kind of getting a glimpse into the world building here, because we're hearing this TV star, or this old TV star, which that's who Peter Vincent is.
Yeah.
And him and his girlfriend Amy are just making out while this movie plays in the background. It's such a teenager thing. It's so written really well for teenagers.
It is. I think it goes a really long way to tell you what type of person Charlie is, though, because he's so enamored by this like vampire cultish lore, I guess, that even while making out with, his girlfriend, he's got it on in the background.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
their relationship is a very interesting dynamic, but it's so classic boy and girl, like teenagers type of thing. And they played it very well. They William Ragsdale and Amanda Barris. Is it Barris?
Amanda Bears? Yeah.
The roles perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. They did a great job.
Yeah.
So Charlie getting distracted kind of leads to this miscommunication. And also Charlie's kind of also like pushing his boundaries a little bit with Amy, and Amy kind of puts her foot down.
Yeah.
And they have this little bit of a fight over intimacy, which is normal for couples to do. And then Charlie starts to kind of get distracted of what's going on outside the window.
Right.
And also, they kind of instantly make up though too, because then Amy's like, let's do it, pretty much, and gets in bed, and that's when Charlie sees the stuff going on at the window.
Yeah, while they were making out, he keeps trying to put his hand up her shirt and stuff, and she's like, Charlie, no. And he said, we've been going on almost a year now, and all I ever hear is Charlie, stop it.
Yeah. Like Charlie's trying to get some, which it's such a teenage. Holland really did a great job of writing a teenage boy, because I mean, obviously he was one himself at some point.
Yeah. Oh, well, what I really liked was the fact that when he was casting the part of Charlie, he didn't want somebody that was like super attractive or anything.
No, he wanted a nice, like geeky looking, like teenage boy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because even like Charlie Sheen had gone up for the role and stuff, and Tom Holland was just like, no, you're too pretty. You really are.
So yeah, but he did a great job picking Ragsdale.
Yeah.
So Charlie sees a coffin being carried or being delivered next door by his new neighbors, Their names are going to be Billy and Jerry. And I don't know if you noticed it, but in this point, Jerry is actually only using one of his hands.
No, I didn't notice that.
He's only using one hand, and this other hand is in his pocket. But Billy's using both of them.
Nice.
Yeah. And then as he's like, you won't believe what's happening over there, Amy. And he's describing what's happened, and she's like watching the TV. He's like, oh, and I bet they were on the moors, because at the same time, these characters are carrying a coffin. So we see a very glimpse on how Charlie's behavior is something that Amy has dealt with.
Yeah.
About being this horror fan and stuff, because I assume he is often kind of like, you won't believe that I saw this dead body, or I saw a werewolf or something, or some making stories up. I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's a really in-depth kind of like little detail there if you think about it.
He's obviously been the boy who cried wolf
a
few too many times at this point.
Yeah. Also, Peter Vincent is played by Roddy McDowall. And the character of Peter Vincent is actually named after two well-known actors for their appearances in horror movies: Peter Cushing's and Vincent Price. And Holland even wanted Price to play Vincent Price, Peter Vincent. Sorry. But the actor was in ill health at the time. Yeah. But he really wanted that. And you can see that influence.
Oh, yeah.
In that character. Yeah.
Which, I mean, Peter Cushing prior to this had already been in, I don't know how many Dracula films, but he had been opposite of Christopher Lee at one point.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Lee had played Dracula, but Peter Cushing was... I think he was like Abraham Van Helsing or something like that in a movie, but that was one of the older like Hammer films.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee go way back, and then obviously Vincent Price and all of his horror and stuff. So
yeah. It's just a little universe in itself, It's interesting.
Yep.
So Charlie kind of blows Amy off to be a peeping Tom. And then while this is happening, Amy storms off and Charlie chases after her. And we overhear a radio or on the TV that some murders have been happening around town. So
yeah,
nice little detail.
In this scene, Charlie's a douchebag. He really is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's trying to like, I don't know, make up or something like that, and he's just okay.
Yeah.
Good night.
He's really infatuated with what's going on outside.
Yeah.
So the next day, we see a glimpse into school life for them, and we meet Evil Ed, who is Charlie's best friend, and he's a nerd. He's a little strange. He's definitely a horror fan and has a collection of horror stuff himself, and he knows about vampire lore and everything we see later on. Charlie actually needs Evil Ed's help, and Amy's still upset over Charlie, and they're still fighting like couples do. And we see Charlie's beat up Mustang as he arrives home, which was actually Holland's own Mustang. That was actually Tom Holland's own car that they used on in the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the car was like totaled in an accident like a decade after the movie. I know. That's fucked up.
Man, dude.
It's so messed up. And at this point, we meet a strange woman who happens to be walking the street and asking for directions, pretty much. And it's a sex worker.
Yeah.
And,
she's an escort. Yeah. The Mustang, it's red, but it looks like they spray painted parts of it to make it look like it had been, in ill repair, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Like a teenage car should look.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, his mom and Charlie, talk about the new neighbors, and she's like, knowing my luck, they're probably gay, which is interesting because we'll talk about that. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely make a middle note. Try to. Charlie, that night after studying, hears a scream from next door. And then the next day, at the diner, he sees the image of the woman he saw that day, and that she has been discovered that she's died, that she's dead, she's been murdered.
Yep.
And Evil Ed, there's this moment where Evil Ed says, "Did you hear how they found them? Their heads were off or something," and cackles about it.
Yeah, they've been decapitated. And he has this creepy AF laugh.
Yeah.
And that so what was the actor's name? Stephen Jeffries. I think it's Stephen Jeffries. He said that the laugh, he didn't feel comfortable doing it. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland was like, "You've got to do it." Like the character is kind of like hinged on this like weird persona and stuff. So you have to do it. So eventually he did. And, it just, he kind of had to just trust him in that moment.
Yeah. It became his iconic thing, and a very iconic moment, and not a line necessarily, but it was something fans wanted him to do later on and stuff. So it kind of haunts him, I guess, now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amy gets tired of being ignored and throws a burger in Charlie's face and storms off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So Charlie then tries to be sneaky and tries to take a peek in the basement. But Billy, the live-in carpenter that Jerry has, sees him through the window of the basement as he's painting the basement windows black. Mm-hmm. I love this so much. This is such a cool moment, because if you've never seen this movie before, like, why are they painting the windows black? If you had no idea what this movie was about, like, why would they be painting the windows black? It's such a nice detail. It's so interesting. It's something not a lot of people would have thought about doing.
I mean, if I had no idea what the movie was about, I would guess that they're painting the windows black because they're running a meth operation down there.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Super Secret Scroll stuff.
I don't know if that's what Secret Scroll did. Maybe that's not what Secret Scroll did. He was a spy, not a meth dealer.
Whatever. Maybe he just decided he wanted a change of pace, whatever.
So Charlie slowly Charlie is scared off by Billy, who is the carpenter, and he slowly begins to become obsessed with what's going on in the neighbor's house, because something just isn't adding up,
Yeah. Charlie is trying to open the cellar doors, and Billy comes around. He's on the porch, but he leans around the corner. He's like, "Hey, kid, what are you doing?" And he's just like, "Nothing." Billy Cole is just like, "Why don't you keep it that way?" But I forget the actor's name. Jonathan.
Is it Jonathan?
Is Jonathan something? But he came from kind of a improv comedy background. And just the way that his facial expressions and everything are, he's super funny.
Jonathan Stark.
Yeah.
Is his name.
He's so funny to me. But we'll see more of him later.
Oh, yeah. So there's more like peeping Tom stuff on the way of Charlie. So much so that he sees Jerry with another girl. And the window scene is so well shot. I love this window scene. And I love how long Jerry's fingers and nails are, because he has this young lady with him, and he's undressing her, and Charlie's watching like a fucking pervert through the windows, like any teenage boy would.
Yeah.
And Jerry catches him through the windows, and then takes these like very long and just elegant fingers and wraps it around the cord of the shade and just pulls it down so slowly, and it's so seductive and mysterious, and it's so good. It's so good.
I mean, Charlie's probably seeing his first real life boobs, and Jerry's got to fuck it up.
Oh no!
Like, man. That sucks. Also, Charlie's a fucking weirdo, dude.
Yeah. So Charlie's freaking out and tries to convince his mom, and obviously his mom's not having it. No sane adult would believe a teenage boy about this, especially if you know that teenage boy has an obsession with horror and like scary stuff, you know? And then he also sees Billy taking out a body-shaped trash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he takes it out and like puts it in the back of this small ass Jeep, and I'm like, who's taking bodies off in a fucking Jeep?
It's the 80s.
It's the 80s, man.
So Charlie goes outside and is hiding in his bushes trying to get a better look at what's going on. And Jerry comes outside after Billy, and he's eating an apple. Jerry's eating an apple. Mm-hmm. And this was actually Chris Sarandon's idea about the fruit, because they had to do the biographies, which we'll get into those a little better. And when he was doing his research for his character, he found out that bats are mostly like fruit bats and eat fruit. And he thought if vampires are from bats, they probably have a tendency to crave fruit. And it's the details and the passion and the effort behind this movie that makes it so good.
Yeah, it was really good. I did like it.
Yeah, and then here comes Judy Brewster, calling Charlie's name, ruining this teenage boy's moment to be sneaky and important and stuff. And then he has no other choice than to pop up out of these bushes, letting Jerry and Billy know that he was watching them and dart into the house.
I mean, it's no surprise that Jerry knew that Charlie was there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't more than 10, 15 feet away, I would say. And then you have Judy come out the fucking house, and she's not even subtle about it. She doesn't say, Charlie. She's not like, Charlie. No. She's like, Charlie?
Middle of the fucking night.
Yeah, dude. It's got to be like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Charlie? And then he just pops up out of the fucking bush and hauls ass to the house. And, you know, it's like, okay, if you were trying to be sneaky, bro, that is thrown out the fucking window now.
They know now.
Yeah, dude.
It's over now, boy. They know you were trying. So Charlie continues to try to convince people. He tries to convince his mom more. He tries to convince Amy that the neighbor is a vampire. He even goes far as going to the police and bringing this lieutenant over to the neighbors to look for evidence. Mm-hmm. So obviously that doesn't work out. The lieutenant is not convinced, but while Charlie is in Jerry's house, we get to see it, and it's a gorgeous house. It's not a real house, unfortunately. It was built on the lots on Disney. Is it Disney? It was Disney.
The Disney backlot, yeah.
So this house is it's this old Victorian house, and it is so gorgeous. It's got this huge round stained glass windows. There's all these clocks and stuff, and there's a few boxes. And Charlie, being Charlie, because he is nosy, he stumbles across a painting that looks like Amy.
Yep.
Which also was another suggestion by Sarandon to add in. So Amy would have more of a connection. I don't know why I did this with my fingers. Amy would have more of a connection to Billy.
I also want to point out, because in some of these exterior shots that we see of the house and stuff, obviously, if you ever find or look at real pictures of that backlot, it's basically a street that just keeps going. But the way that they basically used matte paintings to create the background of the town or whatever they live in, and that's just a matte painting.
Yep, to give the scene more depth.
Yeah, and I really love that. I love that.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I wish they kind of did that more often.
I wish they did more practical effects. I really do. I mean, the artistry of it. Honestly, it would create so many fucking jobs too. Yeah. Sorry, I'm cursing a lot today. I apologize, listeners.
But yeah, so Billy lets Charlie and Lieutenant in. Yeah. And Charlie's like, oh, I can prove it. I can prove he's a vampire. We should go down to the basement.
Yeah.
And Billy is just like, the lieutenant is like, well, what's down there? And Billy's like, yeah, what's down there, Charlie? And he's like popping his eyebrows up the whole time. Like his facial expressions are just classic.
Well, Jonathan Stark honestly admitted that he was just picking on Charlie the whole time.
Yeah.
Every scene they were in, he was there just picking on him. Yeah.
And that scene of him and the lieutenant, talking back and forth was almost entirely ad-libbed.
Yeah.
Like
there's a lot of added on. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny.
But it was good. It was good add-ons. It was good.
Yeah.
So obviously the lieutenant doesn't believe Charlie and tells him not to bother him anymore. Like, don't come around the station, boy.
Charlie's like, I'm telling you, Jerry Danders is a vampire. And the lieutenant's like, yeah, and I'm Dirty Harry.
Mm-hmm. So then realizing it's getting late in the evening and the streets are pretty much empty, Billy kind of like looms over the balcony of the house and watches Charlie for a while. And so Charlie's like, oh yeah, I probably need to scoot out of here. So he rushes to Evil Ed's to get some advice. And Evil kind of believes him, and Charlie gives him like $8 for the advice. And also some of Ed's lines were ad-libbed by Stephen Gottfries, by the way. A lot of his little things he did were just added in as well.
Man, $8 is pretty steep.
Honestly.
Also, Ed seems like he's skipping his damn meds, is what it is.
Ed gives him the classic, don't invite the vampire into your home, duh. Mm-hmm. And then also, Charlie's mom immediately invites the vampire into the house later that evening.
I'm loving the classic vampire tropes that we're seeing in the movie so far. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we do get to see some later on too. But also, Judy's gonna get fucking Charlie killed.
Judy does not have good instincts.
No,
she has no survival instincts.
No,
Judy,
none whatsoever.
Girl, honey,
like there's damsel.
This whole movie.
I'm telling you, there's damsel in distress, and then there's Judy.
Yeah, Judy's on her own level.
Yeah, just can't get right.
So Jerry pretty much threatens Charlie the whole time he's there, being introduced by the mom and stuff. Yeah. So we know Jerry is coming for Charlie.
Yeah, and Jerry says something like, "Yeah, now that I've been invited over, I may come over more often. I may come over whenever I feel like it."
Yeah.
But I do feel like Charlie's he's brought most of this on himself, though.
Yeah. This could have been an easy end,
Had he just minded his damn business.
So the fun begins that night when Charlie is awoken by the sound of someone on the roof after falling asleep clutching a crucifix. So Jerry enters the house, drawing Charlie out of his room. Oh, but it's just a tree branch. So Charlie comes out of his room down the stairs because it's a scraping sound. And it's just a tree branch outside scraping the window. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, while he's investigating downstairs, Jerry is in Judy's room and then jams the door to her bedroom.
Yep.
Also, you have this moment where Jerry is crossing the bedroom and you get the mirror not reflecting him. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the very first time the audience is like in on like this is an actual like vampire.
Yes.
It's a shot that Holland was actually not happy with because not a lot of people caught it. But you did the first time, and I'm super proud of you.
Thanks.
That was impressive.
Well, the way they shot it was initially they shot Chris walking across set with the mirror being replaced by a blue screen. And then they did another take with just the mirror. Mm-hmm. And then you basically just, composite them together and there you go. I guess the other question I have is how did they get the door opening in the mirror without him?
Oh, fishing line or something. Or someone most likely literally pushing it open on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. So either way, though, it was definitely a good shot, especially for the time.
Yeah, it was really good. It was smooth. It was really smooth. Yeah. So Jerry finds Charlie's room as he's whistling Strangers in the Night and hides in Charlie's closet. Another reference to some, gay culture in the closet is a reference in the anyway. We'll get to it. And then Charlie comes back to his room and Jerry just starts tossing Charlie around like a rag doll. He grabs him and offers him this chance to make a choice, to forget he saw anything ever, or he can die.
Yeah.
And Charlie stabs him in the hand with a pencil.
Well, he pulls out a crucifix, right? And at that point, Jerry's like, you made your choice.
Yep.
And now you're going to die for it. So he's about to push his ass out the window, and that's when Jerry stabs him in the hand. There's a lot to talk about with the hand.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting on how they did it. It's essentially a retractable pencil. So you have the pencil on one side, and then on the other side you have an appliance, which is the tip of a pencil.
Yep.
And then he shows the tip to the audience, and then he flips it back over. When he flips it over, there's, I'm assuming, a piece of filament wire or something attached to it. So when he hides it, they snatch it away, and then he just pulls the retractable pencil out. They talk about how it was done in another movie. I don't remember.
It was Lancelot?
I think it was, yeah. He had the sword stuck through it.
1983, I think.
Yeah, and then when he pulls the sword out, it's a retractable sword. So, but yeah, it's super funny though, because Jerry's like, well, we wouldn't want to wake your mother. And then he just starts slamming him against the damn walls and stuff.
Yep.
Granted, it is Judy, so.
Yeah, it is Judy. You're right.
Eh.
So there's so much noise. He literally throws Charlie into his closet and breaks the doors and everything. Jerry tries to reason with Charlie in like I said, offering him a choice. So then Charlie tries to use the cross to ward off Jerry, but Jerry's just makes Charlie drop it. Judy finally wakes up after all this commotion and it scares Jerry off. These two have been fighting in the room and slamming stuff and breaking stuff. And finally Judy wakes up and she's like, Charlie, I can't open my door. And Judy is so oblivious, hearing the crashing, she comes to Charlie's side and was like, what's going on? And Charlie's like, oh, I just had a nightmare. He's covered in
he's got sheetrock dust all over him.
He's got dust all over him. He's disheveled. His doors to his closets are broken. And she's just like, what? And then we hear crashing from the window. And she's like, what is that? And then Charlie's like, oh, it's just a raccoon. It's not.
It's not a raccoon.
It's not a raccoon.
She never once questions why her door was stuck or anything. No. That's crazy.
So once Judy leaves, Charlie sits back down and starts to watch a vampire movie for some reason. And he's having a little bit of an anxiety attack. And then Jerry calls on the phone. And he's like, I just destroyed your car, Charlie. Also, Billy's on his knees in front of Jerry.
Yeah, he's
cleansing his hand.
Yeah,
he's washing the hand.
Wonder what that's about.
Yeah.
Interesting. Charlie's going to have to become Abraham Van Helsing real quick.
I mean, kind of he does. Not as quickly as he should have, but yeah.
I mean, he is a kid.
True. So the next day, Charlie visits Peter Vincent and tries to convince him to help him that his neighbor's a vampire. And obviously Peter doesn't believe him. And also Peter has been fired from his job as well. So Peter's going through some stuff. It's not the best time to ask him for favors.
Yeah.
But he pretty much tells Charlie he's crazy and drives off.
Yeah. Well, the last thing Peter needs is to be hassled by his fans.
Honestly.
I just hate it when that happens.
The diva. He's such a diva. He really is such a diva.
I mean, we get hassled by our fans all the time. And it's great. Anyways.
So Amy and Evil show up to Charlie's and find him surrounded by crosses, garlic, and candles, and carving wooden stakes. I also read somewhere that William Ragsdale had food poisoning during this shoot. And that's like, he looked that's why he looks so ragged. It's like, that's not makeup. Like, he's actually sick.
I figured it was just because he'd been fucking ran through by a damn vampire. You know? I mean, also...
He was ran through?
Yeah, he ran through, dude. You don't know what that means?
I do. Do you know what that means?
I mean, no.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, Charlie's become a walking fire hazard with all these damn candles.
Yeah, there's a lot of candles. So Evil and Amy convince Charlie not to try and kill Jerry by himself because he knows he can't do it. So Amy Evil then go to Peter Vincent's and convince him to help them. And they pretty much agree to trick Charlie to believe that Jerry's human. And they even work with Jerry to get this done.
Yeah. When Amy and Evil leave, Amy turns and tells Charlie that she loves him. And I was like, man, that's so sweet.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So they contact Jerry, and Jerry says he's been recently reborn, so he doesn't believe it would be like sacrilegious to make him look at a crucifix or to drink holy water. And Peter's like, just tell him it's tap water. It's fine. So he agrees and stuff. But Peter also, what did he? They had to pay him something.
Yeah, so Peter says he's just been offered a starring role in a major film, right? And as soon as Amy says, I'll pay you a $500 savings bond, he's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, dude. Well, you must be broke.
So they arrive and wait for Peter to get there at sundown, like 6 o'clock. And he arrives, and they all go into Jerry's house and meet, and Jerry's got all these clocks again, and no crosses or I said that already. Sorry.
It is funny though, because when Peter first shows up, Charlie's like, "Aren't you going to get your crucifix and your stakes?" And he's like, "Oh, they're in the bag." And he's like, "Are you really going to face him with all this stuff?" And he's like, "Well, I've got to prove he's a vampire before I can kill him." Charlie.
Duh.
Yeah.
Damn, Charlie.
But honestly, I feel like the clock thing, I really do feel like the clock thing it's supposed to be like a reminder of time for someone who has an infinite amount of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Well, it's also to let them know when sunrise and sunset are.
True, but you could have one clock for that.
Yeah, but I think it does lead to what you're saying. They have all this time, their infinite amount of time, but they also have to obey time.
Yes.
And that's another thing.
Honestly, time is a cruel mistress.
Yes, it is. So Peter, Charlie, and Ed and Amy visit Jerry and Billy. I'm reading like a what is it, Jane and Dick fucking book.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jerry kind of pervy towards Amy a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He's like, "Come here, little mama, let me whisper in your ear."
No.
She is his enchantress. or whatever it was Count Orlok said.
And Amy and Evil are instantly charmed by Jerry, by the way. Like, instantly.
Yeah.
These kids have no survival instincts. Although, I can't blame them, because I probably would have been too, So then Jerry drinks the quote-unquote holy water, and nothing happens because it's just tap water.
Yeah, then he almost throws that damn glass vial in the fire, and Peter Vincent's like, no, give it back. Mm-hmm. He's probably like, that's
it was something from a set.
Yeah.
Peter's a little bit of a hoarder, I would say, a collector. So Jerry and Charlie have this secret moment where Charlie realizes that he has been kind of tricked. Mm-hmm. Like, he says something, Jerry says something specific. I can't remember what the exact line is. And then Charlie has this like moment where it's like, oh,
Jerry says something. It's like, you wouldn't want your friends to experience any more pain.
Yeah. that's exactly it.
From whatever, but yeah.
And then Peter picks up this mirror that he has from a different set, and that he then peeks at, and realizes that he doesn't have a reflection, that Jerry does not have a reflection, and drops his mirror, breaking it.
Yeah.
Peter makes a run for it, and Charlie, Peter's like, we gotta leave. Let's go. And as they're leaving, Charlie's like, what? Huh? Mm-hmm. And Charlie's like, you know something. And Jerry finally tells him, I just know that he doesn't like cast a reflection. He doesn't in my mirror. And we were like, oh. And
yeah.
Charlie's like, oh, okay.
Peter was in like a full-on panic at this point. Because he's like, I got to go. I got to roll out. I'm honestly starting to think he's not really a vampire killer.
Maybe. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Who's the judge?
Who knows? Yeah, maybe.
Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe he's just keeping secrets.
So Charlie and Evil walk Amy home, and Evil breaks from the group and then fakes being bitten because it's Evil and he's a little shithead,
Yeah. Yeah, and now poor Ed's really going to get it. And Charlie tried to warn him.
Yep. Jerry shows up and begins to follow Evil down these very dark alleyways in the middle of somewhere downtown LA.
Yeah.
And he corners Evil and offers his hand, promising that they'll never pick on him again. And it's very intimate because as Evil takes his hand, and Evil's crying and stuff, and Jerry takes his hand and then pulls him into an embrace, and even like wraps his cape around Evil. And that's very much a nod to like Dracula in Nosferatu. So it was very touching, and it also goes into that hidden homosexual behavior.
I said it was pretty sad, just because it's not like Ed had a choice.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because had he not taken his hand,
he just died.
Jerry would have just killed him. So, and I like to think of, because they're high school kids. So Ed's maybe 16, 17.
Yeah.
Maybe had the rest of his life ahead of him.
Yeah.
And it's just brought to an end. Sad. Anyways.
So Charlie and Amy then hear Evil scream, and Amy convinces Charlie that it's just Evil playing again. And then the lights suddenly go out in the alleyway.
Yeah.
And Amy blames it on a power outage. But Charlie grabs her and just rushes her out of the alleyway and be near people to this club. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because during these scenes, this was shot in downtown LA. And while they're filming, actual people were throwing trash and shit at them.
Yeah, that's fucked.
It is fucked up, dude. But yeah, Jerry's done fucking around now at this point in the movie.
Yep. So the new evilest evil visits Peter and tricks him into inviting him inside. Evil then tries to attack Peter, but Peter then presses a cross to his head, scarring Evil with this impression of a cross.
Yeah.
Great special effects here.
Yeah. The prosthetics that they used, it was almost like it was like a slime or a glue or something. So when Peter presses the cross against Ed's forehead, and he pulls it back, it kind of sticks to the... And there's also smoke tubes attached to the back of the cross. So when he presses it against his forehead, the smoke comes out and everything. It was really well done.
It's so well done.
It was so good.
So good. It's such a good movie.
And then Evil proceeds to yeet himself out of the window.
Meanwhile, Jerry has trapped Amy and Charlie inside a club. And Jerry catches Amy's eye and... instantly entrances her.
Yeah. Also, wardrobe change for Jerry?
I think he just took his coat and scarf off.
I guess, yeah. Because he's just wearing this sweatshirt now.
Yeah, it's like a nice sweatshirt. I won't even say it's like a sweatshirt. It's more like a sweater.
Yeah.
With some nice trousers. And some nice trousers. dancers.
What's that about?
Okay, so we have one of the most iconic scenes in this movie, and that's the seduction of Amy.
Yeah.
So as Charlie is on the phone trying to get the police or try to get Peter on the phone or anybody, Amy spots Jerry in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And he disappears. And then she's like, where is he? Where is he? And she spots him again. And it becomes this more rhythmic, mesmerizing thing as he walks back and forth from side to side of the screen. And she's watching him until suddenly he's actually like behind her.
Yeah.
And he draws her into the dance floor. Mm-hmm. And they have this very intimate and sexual like dance. And it's just... It's so beautiful. It's so sensual. And the shots zoomed in on them, and the whole, like, as you're watching this, the whole rest of the club just kind of disappears. And it just becomes about these two people. Mm-hmm. And it was chef kiss, beautiful, sexy.
Yeah. There is a lot that you can dissect about this scene. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is about the choreography of the dance. There's a shot of her, they're dancing like in front of a mirror, and when she looks in the mirror, he's not there. Mm-hmm. So during the shooting of this, typically, like, you know, with a lot of actors, when they're not actively filming, if they're not working, they're not there. You know, they're off doing other things. But Chris Sarandon, he actually took the time to be there, even though he wasn't working, so he could help her, you know, I guess stage or whatever, or blocking for the scene. So while she's twirling in front of the mirror, he's there to help her, you know, through and all that stuff. So,
well, again, that goes down to what I say. You have to have a passion. You know, yeah. If you have passion and you actually like what you do as being an actor and creating movies, you'll be there when you need to be there, mm-hmm. no matter what your schedule is. Right. And that's what happened here. It was great. Yeah. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah. It's pretty funny though, because I mean, Charlie needs to pay attention because Jerry's out there stealing his woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And because as Amy is being seduced, Charlie is on the phone with Peter, like not paying attention at all.
Yeah. And the whole time, Amy, she's getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they about to get nasty.
They kind of like, there's this one, there's like 3 parts of the dance that really stick out to me. Mm-hmm. There's the one where like they're chest to back and like they kind of like bend over together in this like some very smooth circle motion. And then there's the shot of his hand going up her skirt is really good. And then the shot where she like goes down his body is just so good. It's so good.
You're nasty.
So Charlie finally realizes that Amy is dancing with Jerry. And Jerry shows his dominance over Charlie and kidnaps Amy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on the way out, Jerry is intercepted by 2 bouncers. Right? Yep. And the one bouncer, he winds up getting his throat slashed by Jerry, but right before he calls out to his boy, Leon. And then he gets taken out. And then Leon's a big boy. Mm-hmm. And Jerry grabs him by the throat and just lifts him up. And the way that they did this is very practical because it's literally just him standing on top of a dolly. And they slowly lift the dolly up while Jerry's just holding on to his neck. So
nice,
it's very practical, yeah. Yep.
And then the club just burst into like chaos. Yeah. And Charlie and Amy are separated again. Yep. And Amy gets pulled away in the sweep of the crowd, but then Jerry is able to like grab her and keep her from being actually like stomped and like, you know, pushed down or anything. Mm-hmm. And it's able to get her out of the club. Yep. Charlie rushes out of the club after them, and you have this iconic and famous scene of Evil pointing and laughing at Charlie as they drive off in the Jeep. Yeah. And it's one of the best shots. Yeah, it
was pretty cheesy. Also, Ed's teeth are all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah.
He got him fucked up vampire too.
He's a new vampire. He's learned. He didn't really even get a chance to really get used to it, and control it.
That begs the question: are there vampire dentists?
I don't think you would need a dentist if you were a vampire.
I don't know. I mean, what if you're trying to like bite some really thick dude, right? And your like fang breaks off. You just grow a new one?
I mean, okay. So first of all, vampires aren't real. Second, if you are a real vampire, you're magic. So I don't think your fangs can break. Anyway, Charlie, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
Okay.
You're just shooting down my dreams and stuff. I don't like it.
I'm sorry. Charlie heads to Peter to convince him to help him save Amy. Peter has other plans and just wants to flee. Like, he's actually already packing his suitcase when Charlie arrives.
He also says that Peter's not his real name. Mm-mm. But we never learn his real name.
No, we don't. No, it's one of those mysteries.
Yeah, dude.
Back at Jerry's, he's dressed Amy up and goes in for the vampire seduction. Yep. And as far as soundtracks go, this movie has some bops for sure. Also, Jerry and Amy about to get the freak on in this point. This scene. This scene. It's just, I almost don't want to talk about it because it's so intimate between the two. And the facial, there's no words, there's no talking. It's just physical touch and expression. Mm-hmm. And there's this one point where he is embracing her and he's not really doing other than that, but his mouth kind of gets close to her neck and she like tenses up and like jolts back. And he seems so like amused by that, and then it's just like she tries to talk and he's like, no, don't speak.
Yeah.
He holds up his fan and he has this such emotional expression right before he like bites her. Mm-hmm. Like he has like some like regrets about this, that she is such a beautiful like person, but also reminds him of the person from the painting. Mm-hmm. And maybe she died before he could give her the gift of being a vampire, or maybe he did give her the gift of being a vampire, but then she was killed by somebody. You never know. You don't know. And what I would give to read the bios they wrote for each character.
Yeah, that's gold right there.
Man, if I could get my hands on those autobiographies. Oh, God. Anyway, so they have this intimate moment. Jerry bites her and begins the process of turning Amy into a vampire.
Yeah. So it's worth noting that the composer for the film, Brad Fiedel, he originally wrote a song for this scene as a cue, And I think he said the title of the song was Come to Me, but it originally had lyrics to it. And I guess when he presented the song to Tom Holland was like, yeah, it cannot have lyrics. It cannot have lyrics, just simply because he doesn't want people watching this scene and just hearing some guy in the background talking, or singing. So it really, I guess like it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like trust your director and stuff. And they pulled the lyrics out of it, so it's just the instrumental version and stuff. And it does pull that scene together really well. But then we see him bite her neck, but it's not in the neck. It's more of like the trapezius muscle. Like, are you new here? Are you new? Like, have you been vampiring much?
Well, either way, he bites her in the body.
In the body.
In the body.
That's all that matters.
And it begins the vampire process. And Charlie shows up finally. Alone, but then Peter is actually there. Yeah. He like pops up. Yeah. And Peter is ready to go to war. Like, he is ready to get in there
Yeah.
Kind of, I think, maybe. Who knows, actually, about Peter.
Yeah. At this point, I made the conclusion that Billy Cole is Jerry's familiar, which if you're not familiar with the vampire lore, they are humans that take on the daily tasks for a specific vampire. But we learn later on that...
it's a little something special about Billy.
Yeah.
Inside, the duo are face to face with Jerry, who welcomes him with the real night. Welcomes him to Fright Night. For real. Yeah.
I love how in that scene, I loved how they did Jerry's nail scratching down the railing and stuff, but I think they probably had some sort of like wax or something on there, so it would look like it was curling up.
It's a nice little added detail.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So crosses don't seem to really work on Jerry, due to the lack of faith that Peter has. For such an old vampire, you need to have a little more oomph behind it, you know. But Charlie does have the faith and is able to repel Jerry until Billy shows up, and then Peter tries to flee again.
Yeah, Peter's just like, fuck this shit.
Not even like 2 seconds in the house, man.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you have a gun. Just pull out the gun, dude. Anyways.
Do you want to read this? Slap the shit out of Charlie? Do you want to read it? I'll read it.
You go ahead.
Okay, so Billy slaps the shit out of Charlie and he falls. And instead of pulling the strap out, Peter takes it off like a little bitch. It's what Troy wrote.
He does. He just takes the fuck off and leaves Charlie there all by himself.
Yeah. He actually flees to Charlie's house looking for Judy, and goes for the phone, but the phone line has been cut. And then we get this like wolf in grandmother's bed type deal, because Peter goes up to Judy's room and finds Evil in the bed wearing a red yarn wig and hiding, just acting like
dude. He's looking like some Raggedy Ann type shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of on the nose now that his name is Evil Ed, and then he turns out to be evil.
Well, the whole evil thing is that, you know, he's into horror and stuff. That's the nickname where it comes from.
Yeah.
And he is a little weird. So Evil uses his new vampire skills to change into a wolf. And he dies for Peter, but hits the railing of the banister and then falls into the chandelier and then into the first floor, where he is impaled by the piece of the wood at the banister. And we get some of the best practical special effects in the history of cinema, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really well done.
That not only is the special effects of the transforming back really messy and hard to watch almost, you also get this very kind of like sad, intimate moment between Evil and Peter, as Evil, who is just a teenage boy, is transforming back to his more human appearance as he dies from this impalement of wood. And he reaches out for Peter, who reaches out in return, but then remembers that this is a monster. This is no longer a human.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really sad. I mean,
but again, the special effects, though, you know, just so good, so much went into that. It's a crazy amount that went into the special effects of the wolf transformation back. It's so great, though.
Well, so a lot of the special effects, or at least the visuals of it, hinged on the fact that the chandelier is swinging back and forth. So the lighting is very dynamic in this scene. There's this melting hand that we see as Ed is transforming back into his human form or whatever. Because a lot of the transformation is meant to be asymmetrical, because Steve Johnson, the special effects coordinator, he basically was like, yeah, I don't want anything symmetrical because that's all we've seen up to this point in cinema. So he wanted to do something that would really pique people's interest. But the melting hand trick that we see is namely just gelatin, and there's some wires inside for like tendons and stuff. But the wire was controlled from underneath the floor, and then they melted it and then just played it in reverse. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like it really is some of the best practical effects in cinema.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Jerry has captured Charlie, locking him inside the same room as Amy as she begins to change into a vampire. Peter then gathers his courage and heads back over to the neighbors.
Poor Amy. She's going to turn into a vampire.
She is. Peter finds Charlie locked in and is able to break it open and free Charlie. Jerry and Billy then realize that Peter has returned and head back up.
Yeah, Peter literally tells Charlie, just make a lot of noise. And then he just starts beating the door.
Yeah, he does this, and then as soon as they open the door, the noise stops.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, cool, man.
Mm-hmm, yep. Peter shoots Billy in the head, sending him down the stairs. Charlie then repels Jerry again with a cross as Billy gets back up. Peter then shoots Billy 5 more times, sending him back to the floor, but he's still up. It turns out that Billy is like a type of ghoul. I mean, some people say zombie or like undead or something, but I think it really is that he is a ghoul. And he begins to leak this green goo as his body begins to melt. And when I say ghoul, a ghoul is like a person who has fed off of the vampire's blood but has not been turned into a vampire. So the benefits of vampire blood normally would give a normal person like strength and maybe like some speed or something. Maybe it will give the ghoul more of a longer life type of situation. Mm. But yeah, he kind of melts to death on the stairs and becomes a puddle of like goo.
Yeah.
Again, great practical effects.
Well, and it is worth noting that Jonathan Stark himself has said that he doesn't know what he is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's like, if you want to know, go to Tom Holland's house, knock on the door, and ask him yourself. But in this movie, Billy is a gooey boy.
He is a very, very gooey boy.
Yeah.
Charlie and Peter then rush to Amy's side, who is like 90% vampire now. And they begin to search for Jerry. Jerry tries to command Amy to kill Peter and Charlie, but she is not vampire enough for the vampire club yet.
Nice Master of Disguise reference.
Yeah, you're welcome, everybody. After some running and jumping around, Peter and Jerry end up at the top of the stairs just as all the clocks begin to chime and the sun begins to rise. In a panic to survive, Jerry turns into a bat and tries to flee, but Peter is able to block his way. Bat Jerry attacks Peter and then bites Charlie, who tries to pry him off of Peter.
And he didn't even yell out bat when he changed.
See, nice what we do in the shadows reference.
Yeah,
See?
Thanks.
Good job. High five. They follow Jerry into the basement, and Amy shows up full vampire and approaches Charlie, trying to seduce him. And then Peter finds a secret room where the coffin is in.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in the movie, I was like, this movie is taking a lot of influence from, like, I said Nosferatu, but Nosferatu itself is a unauthorized adaptation of Dracula.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's Dracula.
It takes a lot of like references from Dracula and Nosferatu and just that classical kind of vampire lore.
Yeah.
Amy attacks Charlie as Peter tries to pry open Jerry's coffin. Also, the mouth prosthetic was one of the last pieces that were made, and Holland didn't want a lot of shots of it because it was like made within like 6 hours, like not even like a full 24 hours or anything like that, because it wasn't the best looking, and they ended up using it for the artwork and the posters. Like that is the Amy above the house in the posters. It's a very famous poster. It's actually on my favorite t-shirt that I have. It's that shark face above the house. It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when he asked, who was it? I think it was Randy Cook, one of the special effects artists. He was like, can you make this, I need it by Tuesday, and also I can't pay for it. Can you do it for free? And he was just like, yeah, I guess I could do something about it. But I love it because it's kind of, you only really get glimpses of it
maybe
at first.
3 good shots of it.
Yeah, and it's honestly, I think they do a really good job.
Yeah, it was I thought it was lovely.
Yeah.
So they fight Jerry and Amy around the basement. And then Charlie and Peter begin to break the windows of the basement, flooding it with sunlight and killing Jerry and saving Amy.
It was a very nice ending. I found it very, very fascinating because Steve Johnson said that one movie he had worked on prior to this, which you may have heard of, called Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
He had made the
zombie taxi driver.
Yeah, he had done the zombie taxi driver as the test.
Yes, test. And they used it.
Yeah. And then he had done, I guess, a transformation of the librarian ghost.
Nice.
And but they didn't use it. It wasn't screen used. But they essentially went and stole this off the shelf to use in Fright Night. So when we see Jerry being melted and transforming into this like giant bat like sort
humanoid
of creature thing,
yeah,
that prosthetic was originally meant to be used in Ghostbusters.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I missed that part of the documentary. My bad.
It's very cool. Interesting.
So flash forward a bit, and Charlie and Amy are still together, and Peter Vincent has his show back. And this night, Charlie gets up to turn the TV off, and as he passes his bedroom window, he sees red glowing eyes in the dark. And then we hear, "You're so cool, Brewster."
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster.
And that is how Fright Night ends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this real quick. There is a sequel to this movie. It's not great. Yeah. I've seen it. It's okay. I'll say one thing: vampires on roller skates.
Interesting.
Yep, that's it.
There is a remake also.
Yeah, there's a remake again, but that's also like, it's more of a standalone. It's influenced by this, but it is its own like storyline.
Yeah.
Fright Night is a beloved horror comedy that blends vampire lore with the 1980s suburban charm. You can't convince me that there is a better vampire movie out there. Widely regarded as one of the best horror comedies of the 1980s.
I don't know. I mean, Once Bitten is pretty funny.
Yeah, Once Bitten's okay. At the box office, so this movie had a $9 million budget. So it's not a huge budget, but it's a decent size, especially for the 80s. At the box office, this movie made $24.9 million. That's insane. It was primarily shot on sound stages at the Culver Studios in California, with some exterior shots filmed in suburban LA. We watched the documentary that goes with this movie called You're So Cool, Brewster. At least we watched the first episode of it. The second episode is about part 2, or the sequel. And again, it's
Yeah, I mean, so the documentary was, 2 hours?
It was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was like 2.5 hours. There's a lot of information in that.
But it's so good.
It is.
It is such a good documentary.
It is.
I wish all movies could have like a really good documentary like that.
And they had
it would make our jobs so much easier.
But they had all the cast on there. The only person that obviously didn't return was Roddy. He had passed away
in 1995, I do believe.
I think it was 98
or 98. I think Vincent Price was 95, maybe. I'm thinking it was something like that.
Yeah. But there's a lot to go over.
Oh yeah,
as far
there's
as the
so much.
So
one of the things I mentioned a little bit is that Tom Holland had the actors write biographies for the characters and their relationships with the other characters.
Yeah.
I would pay so much money. I would to know more. I love an in-depth character. I'm a writer. Okay. I love all the little details I can smush into a character, whether it be like direct details or just hints and little sprinkles and stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to know how these actors viewed their characters. I think it was a fabulous idea that Holland had them do that.
Yeah.
I wish I could read them, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Jeffries, who played Ed, almost didn't write his.
Yeah.
And his agent called him and said, "Hey, Tom Holland's worried about you." Essentially meaning like you need to fucking write it, or you're gonna be out of a job. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Also, Stephen Jeffries and Amanda Beres had previously been in a movie together called Fraternity Vacation.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was like right before they did this.
Yeah, it was
project.
the next movie they both were doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little nice quink-a-dink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
Synchronicities.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love seeing synchronicities. Synchronicities.
Yeah.
It's really good. The whole thing, there is this subtle context of homosexuality in this movie.
Yes.
It is something that a lot of people see and mention, and apparently it's not meant to be anything. Like Tom Holland didn't mean it to look that way.
No.
So, I mean...
And the majority of the homosexuality that we see is between Jerry and Billy.
There's Jerry and Billy, and then that moment he has with Ed that people mention of how he like embraces him and turns him into a vampire.
Yeah, I don't really see that part as being homosexual in nature because I feel like it's more so the wolf taking pity on the lamb, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense.
So I kind of see it that way because in that context, like Ed had no choice. There was the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
But either way, he was going to get bitten. I think Jerry was just trying to kind of make it a little easier for him.
Yeah, but his relationship with Billy is very intimate. But I think that could be it could be like a lover's thing, which again, those biographies that would help explain so much. And but they are so close in the movie, and it's beautiful, you know?
Right. But the thing is like Billy is supposed to be subservient to Jerry.
True.
So seeing him like on his knees, cleaning his hands and stuff like that, that's all he is.
You think people just want to see like sexuality in between?
I guess because I feel like a lot of in the background, at least in vampiric stories, sexuality is definitely a huge topic.
I mean, we could, if you want to talk about sexuality and vampires, we should just cover Anne Rice. You should just let me do like a whole series on the Vampire Chronicles. You really should.
You would love
and
that, wouldn't you?
Just let me do a whole like episode just vampire lore and sexuality and homosexuality and stuff. It'd be great. And bisexuality. It'd be so fun.
Maybe
it really
on a
would.
different show.
Oh, okay.
Anyways,
so thank you guys so much for like listening to this and stuff, because this was so much fun. This is one of my favorite movies. I've said it millions of times. I'll say it again. And I just, thanks for, listening and allowing us to talk about this.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed
it's a good
it.
movie.
I would definitely give this movie a 9. Mm-hmm. It was definitely one of the better B movies I've seen, if you could even call it that.
I'm not even sure if it is considered a B movie.
Yeah, because I mean
it's a horror movie.
Right.
It's a comedy horror.
Columbia Pictures, shot on a Disney backlot. Like there was a lot of major motion picture stuff that went into this. So
So
and they made a lot of money from it.
And again, we don't always watch B movies anyway, so it doesn't have to be a movie. It's just a movie you haven't seen, and it's older than 30 years. You know, it's something like that. So also, before you even ask, we are going to watch Chopping Mall next week. So we're still sticking to the 80s.
Hell yeah.
It will definitely be a little more B movie for you to scratch that itch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, we all love a good B movie.
We all love a good B movie here in this household.
You know, everyone's entitled to one good scare. Interesting. Anyways, that's all the time we have for today.
Yep.
Thank you again for watching. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can listen to this episode as well as all of our other episodes on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
You can also find us at our website, www.andImadehimwatch.com, for all your favorite podcast details. So until next time, stay spooky.
Bye.